I was going to write a post about this, but I just thought it'd be better to get down into a bit of a longer format video, just so people who are potentially in this position can have a watch back of it, ask any questions, drop any comments below, and just get a bit more general information. So last week we held a nutrition seminar. We held two talks actually, but we held a specific talk for females with perimenopause, how to maintain your strength as you get older, and how to maintain your body fat and body composition as you move through perimenopause. And it was just a really, really good conversation. I wanted to get it out in a video here because, again, I think sometimes with social media it's difficult to get like the bigger picture out. So I just wanted an area that I could kind of direct ladies to get a bit more information about what we were speaking about, because the knowledge in the room was amazing, but the feeling in the room was so good as well. We got through so much cool stuff with the ladies, and we're going to dip into this now because when we began the talk, so many of the ladies, were all like, oh, kind of, you've got loads of supplements, we take this and that, is this good, is that good? And it just ended up being a really good conversation, because when it comes to perimenopause, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And unfortunately, social media, a big red flag for me is if you've got hormone coach in your bio. I think it's a big red flag. A lot of these people tend to be pseudoscientific, not evidence-based, and it can become a really big problem for misinformation. So we started to really get into the nuts and bolts of perimenopause and how to manage body composition and kind of body fat along that journey, and also a few different bits and pieces that help along the way. So we're going to jump into supplements here, because I think this is a real massive thing, and a lot of ladies going through perimenopause who are struggling with their body composition, I think, look and lean in to all these fancy supplements that promise the world, but they very much deliver nothing. Overpromise, underdeliver. You have to remember, with the supplement industry, it's a massive area for pseudoscience, and there's not very many evidence-based supplements are actually that useful. So we went through this with the ladies, and again, I do just want to state here, when it comes to perimenopause and menopause, it doesn't mean you can't lose body fat. You absolutely can. The laws of thermodynamics still count. The laws of energy balance are still there. We can't get away from that. You still can lose body fat. There's no doubt about that. Unequivocally, you can absolutely still lose body fat, but it does become more difficult because things change along the way, and it's the variables along the way of perimenopause and menopause that cause the issues. It doesn't turn off fat burning, but some of the issues around perimenopause, with hormonal imbalances, with the way it affects sleep, with the way it can just sometimes make you feel a bit tired. So your energy levels are lower, so your overall activity may be a bit lower. You may not go to the gym as often. It can all, and again, it can all cause issues. Your sleep may be poor, and when your sleep's poor, your hunger hormone can increase, and you lose focus. That's a real combination for overeating and overeating calories. So there's all these different variables that really count when it comes to fat loss. And I spoke about this to the ladies. So you really have to kind of get a grip of absolutely everything in terms of the basic variables that move the needle with fat loss, that we're probably not doing as well now as we did, in our 20s, in our earlier 30s. Things do change through the perimenopause. There's different variables that cause issues here, but you can still lose body fat. Again, it's looking at things like where are your overall activity levels, what is your overall energy balance, and also, the big one for me and the big driver is where's your sleep at, because that does get affected in perimenopause and menopause as well. So it's looking at these different variables and bolting things all together and creating a structure and strategy that actually works for you. So many areas there, which we'll go into on further videos. But this video here, I did want to speak specifically about supplements, because there is a lot of ladies out there, and I don't blame them. I totally get it. There's all these supplements that are going to do this, going to do that, and they just never stack up when it comes to the science and actually what they do. So we're going with the ladies, we were going through their supplements, and it was just not an eye-opener for me, because I see this all the time, but the stacks of supplements that they take were absolutely massive. So, and I'll be honest with you, probably 85% of them, I was like, don't reorder those supplements, because they're just not gaining you anything. They're just costing you a load of money. So when it comes to the perimenopause and supplementation, certainly for fat loss as well, there are supplements that can support fat loss, but there's no supplement that's just going to help you burn fat or burn fat for you. It doesn't work like that in the supplement world. So be very mindful of that. And again, when it comes to perimenopause, there's very little evidence-based supplementation that you can take that will directly help. These things that can support it. So again, if you are resistance training, going to the gym, creatine protein can potentially be really useful there. A whey protein can be fairly decent as well. Vitamin D, fish oils, and potentially calcium supplementation, depending on what your levels are. They're probably the ones that are evidence-based, and they're the ones that, I would probably say in the right scenarios that we could implement them into a strategy. But everything else, I was hearing some, all sorts of kind of supplements coming out there, but ultimately they don't stack up with the science, and a lot of them can just be a massive waste of money. And it's really tough to see that with the ladies, because they're in a really tough position anyway. They're confused. They see all this conflicting information on social media, and then they see a lot of supplements. Oh, this can help that. If you're feeling with brain fog, this can help that, and it just confuses them. And at that time of the lady's life, with the ladies inside the consultants I work with, they're perimenopausal. They're in a position where it's really difficult for them, and sometimes they don't know where to turn, and it can be really difficult. So just getting some clarity on exactly what they needed with their nutrition. Again, overall energy balance. Where are we with that? Where is your protein levels? Where is your fiber during the day? Where is your sleep pattern? How is your sleep? Getting those basics in there for your nutrition is absolutely important. And then again, bolting on for the perimenopause and body composition, potentially looking at creatine supplementation. How are your fish oil supplementation? How are your fish oil levels? What's your omega-3 like? Where's your vitamin D? Are we supplementing vitamin D? And potentially, are we getting some calcium in there supplementation? Should we need that if we're not getting that through the diet? So it's just a really interesting landscape, and I found it was a really fantastic talk. If you take anything away from this, take away the fact that the basics don't change when you go through perimenopause with fat loss. It's still about energy balance. It's still about working on those variables. The core drivers of fat loss still work. Yes, they are harder and it's more difficult, but you just have to find a structure that works for you and something that complements your lifestyle to get the same result. And also as well, just really think about that supplementation. Don't be taking down the garden path into all these kind of crazy supplements, just off the back of somebody saying that they're decent. There's very few evidence-based supplements. A lot of the supplement industry is targeted, for pseudoscience. It's just not very good at all. And that's putting it mildly. I won't swear, but so they're pretty useless. If you've got any questions about what you're currently doing with your own perimenopause, drop me a comment. I'm more than happy to get back to anything on this. I'll also drop a link down in the comments for my diet cycle breaker. If you're currently on a bit of a diet cycle, you can't get off it, looking to lose body fat, you're entering perimenopause, or you may be in it or menopausal, there's a really cool quiz that we've got that help the ladies get a bit of a start point, and we'll drop that in the comments of the video as well. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of clarity. As I say, any questions or anything or any comments you want to pop them down, I'll definitely reply.